In the last class, we have been discussing normalization of the wave function at time 0. Okay, let us ask the question, will the wave function, as the wave function evolve in time, will it remain normalized at a later time? Okay, see, we start with the wave function at position x at the time 0. Now after a time t, it evolves into let us say the wave function at x and t at the time t. If this wave function is normalized, okay, that is if this is normalized, we can write in one dimension. Total probability, if this is normalized, mod psi square is probability density, and the left hand side is total probability. This must be equal to 1. So the question is, if this wave function, this is the condition at time 0, then can we say that this wave function at a later time is this equal to 1? Okay, if at the initial time, if the wave function is normalized, will the wave function remain normalized at a later time? If we look at this integral, we can see that this is integration over x, and we are integrating over the entire x-axis. So naturally, mathematically, if we look at this, the left hand side, this integral should be a function of time. Okay, so this sort of a result, it's not obvious, because what we expect is a function of time. So the question is whether it remains normalized, or will the normalization condition changes. It is 1 at time 0, but will it change? Okay, if it changes, then there is a problem. Then in order to make it 1, we have to readjust the normalization constant. Then it will turn out that the normalization constant will be a function of time. Okay, then it may not satisfy Schrodinger equation again, because if psi is a solution, a constant times psi is also a solution. If since our Schrodinger equation is homogeneous, but this constant should be a constant, it cannot be a function of time. So if this normalization condition changes with time, then it implies that the normalization constant will change with time. That will create a problem. Okay, that constant times the wave function will not be a solution of Schrodinger equation. So this is the question. If the wave function is normalized at 0 time, initial time, will it remain normalized at a later time? Okay, the answer is yes. The answer to this question is yes. Why? How can we say that this integral is equal to 1 or some constant? That means another way of saying is that this integral will not be a function of time. This integral will not depend upon time. How can we make it happen, or how are we sure that this integral will remain as 1? The answer is that this is provided by Schrodinger equation. Schrodinger equation will ensure that this integral will be time independent. Okay, so let us check that. So what we are going to do is we are going to check whether this integral is time independent. If this is time independent, means that this integral is equal to a constant. So if it is equal to 1 at 0 time, it will remain equal to 1 at a later time. Okay, that's what we are going to check. So we want to evaluate this question, derivative of this integral. Look at this, wave function is now a function of time. So we want to see what is this, what is the result of this. Total time derivative of integral mod psi square dx. What is this? If this is 0, it means that this integral is equal to a constant. So if this integral is equal to 1 at initial time, it will remain 1 at a later time also. Okay, so what we are going to do is whether this integral is time independent. So in general, this integral, since it is integration over position, it must be or we assume that it's a function of time. So we are taking the time derivative of this one. Okay, now here this is integration over position and this is differentiation over time. These are two independent variables, so we can interchange this. So I am first going to integrate and differentiate over time, differentiate this integrand over time, and then I will do the integration over position. So let me interchange this integration and differentiation. Okay, so this is left hand side is this is equal to, I am doing the differentiation first. But when I try to differentiate this integrand with respect to time, this integrand is mod psi x t square. It's a function of both x and t. So I have to do a partial differentiation. So I have to use this symbol dou by dou t. Okay. So here I am using full derivative because this integral you have already integrated over position, and this definite integral you have put the limits also. So this there is no space dependence in this integral. Once you do the integration, the position dependent or space dependence has completely been integrated over. So this integral as a whole, once you do it integration, then integral as a whole should be a function of only time, or we expect that it's a function of time. That's why we are taking the differentiation, full differentiation over time. But when you interchange the integration and differentiation, you try to differentiate this integrand, but this integrand is depending on both position and time. That's why partial differentiation symbol here. Okay, now what is this mod psi x t square? Okay, so let us do this. Dou by dou t mod. Let us take this integrand. Okay, this is equal to dou by dou t of, what is mod psi x t square? It is psi star psi. And just dropping the argument, just keep in mind that psi is a function of both position and time. So let us expand this. So what you get is dou by dou t of psi star into psi plus, so here differentiation is applicable only to psi star, okay, plus, so derivative of first function into second function, then plus first function into derivative of second function, right? Now let us find out this. Now we are going to find out this dou psi by dou t and dou psi star by dou t from Schrodinger equation. Okay, so what is Schrodinger equation? Okay, so I will keep it here, dou by dou t of square is this. Let us put it equation 1. Okay. So what is Schrodinger equation? IH cross dou psi by dou t is equal to, we are writing one dimensional Schrodinger equation. Okay, so we want dou psi by dou t first. So let us divide throughout with IH cross. So we have dou psi by dou t equals, so this divided by IH cross, our x cross will cancel, one x cross will cancel, and 1 by I will go to the denominator. 1 by I is minus I, so this minus also will go. So we have IH cross by 2m. Okay, then here 1 by IH cross will come. 1 by I is again minus I, so we have minus I by H cross V psi. And what is here? Psi star dou psi by dou t. So let us multiply psi star from the left side. So psi star dou psi by dou t. There will be a psi star here, and there will be a psi star from the left. So there is a psi here and psi star here. Let us call it equation 2. Okay. So V is a multiplicative operator. So we can put psi star either here or here. No problem. Okay, now let us take dou psi by dou t again. So we have the expression, what was the expression for dou psi by dou t? Look at this, dou psi by dou t is IH cross by 2m dou square psi by dou x square minus I by h cross v psi. So I am taking the complex conjugate of dou psi by dou t. So what is the complex conjugate of dou psi by dou t? Dou psi star by dou t equal to dou psi by dou t is, remember, let us look at this without psi star. So IH cross by 2m dou square psi by dou x square. So what is the complex conjugate of that? I becomes minus I. So minus IH cross by 2m dou square psi star by dou x square. And here it will become plus I by h cross v psi star. This is a dou psi by dou t complex conjugate. Okay, you can check it again. Earlier we have written dou psi by dou t, you take the complex conjugate, then you will get this. So then what you do is, look at this, you need dou by dou t of psi star into psi. Okay. So you right multiply with psi. Okay, in this expression. So dou psi star by dou t into psi, so there is a psi coming here. Okay, let us call it equation 3. So you have psi star dou psi by dou t, this term is here in equation 2. You have dou psi star by dou t into psi, that's in equation 3. You just add them. Okay. So adding them, what you get is, so I can substitute the value here. So add them together and substitute in equation 1. So what you get when you add them? This term and this term will cancel. You have minus I by h cross v psi star psi in equation 2. You have plus I by h cross v psi star psi in equation 3. They will cancel. So what is remaining is these two, and IH cross by 2m I am taking outside. So we have IH cross by 2m psi star dou square psi by dou x square minus this one dou square psi star by dou x square psi. And this term you can write as dou by dou x of IH cross by 2m psi star dou psi by dou x minus dou psi star by dou x into psi. Let us check this. What happens when you differentiate this? There is a product here. You differentiate with respect to x. So what you get? Dou psi star by dou x into dou psi by dou x. Next term will be psi star dou square psi by dou x square. That comes here. When you differentiate these two terms with dou by dou x, first term is dou square psi star by dou x square psi. That is here. Next term will be dou psi star by dou x into dou psi by dou x. So dou psi star by dou x into dou psi by dou x will be here, and there will be here. The two terms will cancel. So what is remaining will be only these two terms. Okay. So you can check this, expand this term and ensure that this will be equal to this. Let us call this equation 4. Okay. So now we have evaluated dou by dou t of mod psi x t square, the integrand in the previous expression when we interchanged the integration and differentiation. This was the integrand, and this integrand we have written as a derivative. This was a partial differentiation in time. This we have rewritten as a partial differentiation in x. Let us substitute this equation 4 in the original integral for the normalization. Okay, let us see. So what we had was integral dou by dou t mod psi x t square dx. Okay, this we have rewritten as, and this dou by dou t of mod psi x t square is written like this. So what you have is integral dou by dou x of IH cross by 2m psi star dou psi by dou x minus dou psi star by dou x psi dx. So you can see that now this integration is with respect to x, and the integrand is now a perfect derivative. Okay, so the answer is this part. This is derivative of this function, and we are integrating over x. So the result is simply IH cross by 2m psi star dou psi by dou x minus dou psi star by dou x psi within the limits minus infinity plus infinity. Now when you substitute the limits, the upper limit, let us substitute the upper limit in these two. So what you get is psi star at infinity. Here you get psi at infinity. Okay, but we know that as x goes to, and similarly when you substitute the lower limit, there will be a term psi star at minus infinity and psi at minus infinity. Okay, we know that psi of xt should go to 0 as x goes to plus or minus infinity. So when you put upper limit as well as lower limit, this psi and psi star will go to 0. Okay, that means the right hand side as a whole will be, this condition is required for the wave function to be normalizable, for the to be square integrable. Okay, so this we have discussed in the previous class. So it means that the right hand side will be necessarily 0. If right hand side is 0, what was the initial, what was the term before this one? What we have started with d by dt of integral mod psi xt square dx, and this expression we have rewritten like this. Okay, so if this is 0, it means that this is equal to 0. Okay, if this integral is equal to 0, it means, so derivative of something is equal to 0. Derivative of this integral is equal to 0. What does it mean? It means that integral, okay, that normalization integral will be a constant. That means minus infinity to plus infinity psi xt square dx is equal to some constant. This is independent of time. This is equal to some constant. So looking at this integral, you get the expression that the left hand side must be a function of time, but no. The structure of the Schrodinger equation ensures that this wave function psi satisfies Schrodinger equation, we know that, and the structure of the Schrodinger equation ensures that this integral is independent of time, it's a constant. What does it mean? It means that if at time 0 you fix this integral equal to some finite value or equal to 1, you normalize the wave function at time 0, then at any later time t, this integral will remain independent of time, which means that whatever be the value of this integral at time 0, it will remain at a later time. Okay, so this constant can be equal to 1. So if the wave function is normalized at time 0, it will remain normalized at a later time. The reason is this wave function satisfies Schrodinger equation. So this is ensured by the structure of the Schrodinger equation. So we need to normalize the wave function at any given time, at time 0. Then it is guaranteed that the wave function will remain normalized at any later time. There are two important wave functions which are exceptions to this condition for normalization. So what are these two wave functions? First one is Dirac delta function. Let me plot it like this. A wave function. The Dirac delta function is like this. Suppose it is defined at the point x0, then it's a very high peak, a sharp peak at x0. Okay, it is 0 everywhere at x not equal to x0, and at x equal to x0 it goes infinitely large values. So this wave function, we can use the notation like this. This is one-dimensional Dirac delta function. So this is non-zero only at x equal to x0, and there it has a very sharp value, very high value, infinitely large value. Now this is a wave function that we use at many situations, but this wave function is not normalizable in the sense that at x equal to x0, this wave function tends to infinity. So one of the two conditions for a normalizable wave function is that it should be finite at all points. But here Dirac delta function is not finite at this point, at x equal to x0. So it is not normalizable. But then how do we deal with this type of wave function? So what we do is we start with a normalizable version of Dirac delta function. There are many ways to define that, and then we take the limit to approach to Dirac delta function. Let us consider one such example. Consider a wave function like this. So this is the point x0. Let's say this is minus epsilon, this is plus epsilon, and this value is some constant d. So this is a rectangular a wave function of finite extension from minus epsilon to plus epsilon. When x is less than minus epsilon, the wave function is 0. Okay. When x is greater than plus epsilon, again the wave function is 0. So between minus epsilon and plus epsilon, it has some value, constant value b. So this is different from this one. Okay. So the width of this wave function is some 2 epsilon and the height is b. Okay. So let us look at this wave function. This is normalizable. This is clearly normalizable. What is the condition for normalization? Let us see. Integral. This is the condition. Mod psi x square dx is equal to 1. So if you substitute this from minus infinity up to minus epsilon, the wave function is 0. From epsilon to plus infinity also the wave function is 0. So the integration is practically limited to minus epsilon to plus epsilon. And what is the value of the wave function within this range? It is b. So we have mod b square dx is equal to 1. So I can take this b outside. So b square into integral of this one, integral dx will be x, and if you put the limits you get 2 epsilon is equal to 1. So we have b is equal to 1 by square root of 2 epsilon. This is the relationship between the height and width. Okay. Now in the limiting case, when epsilon tends to 0, suppose the width of this wave function tends to 0, then what do you get? What will happen to the height? Then b tends to infinity. Okay, so when the width tends to 0, the height tends to infinity, and you get this type of a, suppose x0 is the midpoint of this. So when the width tends to 0, when it converges to the point x0, okay, when the width reduces to the point x0, the height goes to infinity and we get a Dirac delta function. Okay, so we try to normalize Dirac delta function or this type of a wave function by taking a normalizable version and taking the limit of that one. Okay. This is one exception to this normalizable wave function, and let us consider the next one. The second example is plane wave. This wave function of a traveling plane wave is like this. This is traveling along the positive x direction. Okay, it can be plotted like this. Suppose we are plotting this. This is a complex wave function. Suppose I am plotting the real part. Okay, at some time t, then you go like this with the amplitude a, and the extension will be infinity, from minus infinity to plus infinity. This is the plane wave. Okay. Now the problem with the plane wave, this is also not normalizable. The reason is that for a normalizable wave function, this is finite at all points, but the problem is that as x goes to plus or minus infinity, the wave function should go to 0. But this wave function does not go to 0 even as x goes to plus infinity or minus infinity. It will continue to oscillate like this. Okay. So this is also not normalizable. Then how do we normalize a plane wave type wave function? What we do is we take or we try to confine this plane wave okay, to a finite region. Let us say from some minus b to plus b. Okay, so consider this region. So the plane wave is confined to this region. we just truncate the plane wave at minus b and plus b. When x is less than minus b, the wave function is 0. When x is greater than plus b, the wave function is 0. So we confine the plane wave to a box. This type of a technique is called box normalization. Now let us, since it's a wave of finite extension, we can normalize it. Okay, again the amplitude is let's say a. Let's try to normalize it. So integral mod psi x t square dx is equal to 1. Now here from instead of integrating from minus infinity to plus infinity, we need to integrate only from minus b to plus b, because at all other parts, at all other points, the wave function is 0. And what is the value of the wave function within this region? This is the value of the wave function. When you take psi star psi, okay, this part, complex part will go. Okay, so what you get is mod a square dx is equal to 1. So a square you can take out, and the integral dx will give you 2b, and a is equal to 1 by square root of 2b. That is the relationship between the amplitude and the width of the plane wave. Now as b tends to infinity, when you go over to this region, okay, what do you get? Amplitude tends to 0. So this is how we try to normalize a plane wave, by confining the plane wave to a box of finite extension, and then in actual calculations we assume that the width of the box is large, tends to infinity. Okay. Now these are the two exceptions to the general rule of normalizable wave functions, that integral mod psi square dx should be a finite value. Okay, this is not applicable for Dirac delta function as well as plane wave. So we can say that this Dirac delta function and plane wave are two limits or the two limiting points of normalizable wave functions. But keep in mind that these two limits are not within the definition of normalizable wave functions. These limits exist beyond the definition of normalizable wave functions. And one more point regarding this plane wave and Dirac delta function is, if we compare the uncertainty relationship between the two. For example, look at the plane wave and look at the Dirac delta function together. This is the Dirac delta function. Now in the case of Dirac delta function, it is the wave function is localized at an exact point x0. So the position of the particle is exactly at x0. Okay, it means that the uncertainty in position is negligibly small. But this type of a single pulse, we don't know anything about its wavelength. So we don't know anything about the momentum of the particle. So the uncertainty in momentum tends to infinity. This is the situation of a Dirac delta function. For example, on the other hand, in the case of plane wave, it has infinite extension. So there is no way of localizing the particle. Uncertainty in position tends to infinity. But since it has an infinite extension, its wavelength is exactly known. That means the momentum of the particle is exactly known. So uncertainty in momentum tends to 0. So there is a complementary relationship between Dirac delta function and plane wave regarding the uncertainty in position and momentum. Here the uncertainty in position tends to 0. Here uncertainty in position tends to infinity. Here uncertainty in momentum tends to infinity, whereas here uncertainty in position tends to 0. So actual normalizable wave functions will exist in between these two extremes. So in this sense, Dirac delta function and plane wave are two extremes of normalizable wave functions. But as I have stated before, these extreme points, these extreme wave functions exist beyond the definition of normalizable wave functions, in the sense that these two are not normalizable. But still we have to use them. They are useful in many situations. Now let us consider a particular example of a wave function, and let us see how we can normalize the wave function. A simple example. Let psi is equal to some a into x between x equal to 0 and x equal to 1, and psi is equal to 0 elsewhere. means that between x equal to 0 and x equal to 1, psi has a particular value, and for x less than 0 and x greater than 1, psi is equal to 0. Okay. So there are two calculations we have to make. First, normalize the wave function. Okay. Second, so first we will look at this part. Normalize the wave function. So we want to find out this. So we can treat this A as normalization constant. We don't have to introduce one more constant here. Okay. So this constant itself we can treat as normalization constant. So we want to find out this constant. So what is the condition? We have to apply the normalization condition. What is the normalization condition? This is the normalization condition. So we assume that psi is an unnormalized wave function. So if in the case of, if this constant A is not here, we can introduce a constant here, okay, and evaluate that. But since psi already has a constant, we can say this constant A is the normalization constant. So that A times x, this value is a normalized wave function. For a normalized wave function, what is the condition? Total probability must be 1. Let us substitute. So we have, so instead of integrating from minus infinity to plus infinity, we need to integrate only in the domain where psi is non-zero. We have seen this in the case of the truncated version of Dirac delta function and truncated version of plane wave. Okay, or expanded version of Dirac delta function and truncated version of plane wave. So we need to integrate only from 0 to 1. For x less than 0 and x greater than 1, psi is 0. So integral 0 to 1. What is the value of psi x square? It is ax square. It's a real wave function, so we don't have to take complex conjugate, so it's a simple square. Okay, a you can take outside. Okay, so integral x square dx is x cube by 3 from 0 to 1. So putting the upper limit we get 1, lower limit we get 0, so we get 1 by 3. So a square is equal to 3 and a is equal to root 3. So what is the normalized, what is the answer? What is the normalized wave function? Psi of x is equal to root 3 times x. This constant a, this normalization constant is nothing but root 3. So the first part is completed. Now the second part is, let us calculate the probability that the particle can be found between, okay, this wave function represents a moving particle along the x-axis. So what is the probability that the particle can be found between x equal to 0.45 and x equal to 0.55? If this is the x-axis, okay, from 0 to infinity, then this is our region. Between x equal to 0 and x equal to 1 is the wave function existing. So what is this? The middle is x equal to 0.5. So what is this probability? 0.45 will be somewhere here, 0.55 will be somewhere here. So in other words, we want to find out what is the probability of finding the particle around the middle of this region, around the point 0.5, within a width 0.10, right? 0.45 is 0.05 to the left of middle, 0.55 is 0.05 to the right. So this question we can rephrase in another way. What is the probability of finding the particle within a small interval of width 0.1 in the middle of the region? Okay. So how do we find out that? The probability, this equation we have written down in the previous class. The probability of finding the particle between x equal to and x equal to b along the x-axis will be integral a to b mod psi square dx, where mod psi square is the probability density. In other words, psi is the normalized wave function. Only if psi is the normalized wave function can we say that mod psi square is probability density. So using the same idea, we can, instead of A we can write 0.45, instead of B we can write 0.55. What is the normalized wave function here? This one. So we have root 3x square dx. And when you do this integration, you will get the result 0.07525. If you want to convert this into percentage, multiply this with 100, then we will see 7.525%. Okay, this means that when we make 100 measurements of the position of the particle between 0 and 1, then out of 100 measurements, around 7 measurements we get the value position between 0.45 and 0.55. That's the meaning of this result. So now we have seen how we can, once we get a normalizable wave function, how we can normalize the wave function, and after normalizing the wave function, using the normalized wave function, how we can calculate the probability of finding the particle between, we have done this calculation in the middle. In the same way we can do the calculation near to one end, near to the other end, anywhere within this domain. Let us see some counter examples to this normalized wave functions or normalizable wave functions. That means we are looking, let us try to look at some unnormalizable wave functions. As one example, consider this type of a wave function. Okay, it goes to infinitely large values at a particular point. We have seen that we need Dirac delta function, of course, but this is different from Dirac delta function. Okay, over a wide region it is spreading up. Okay, so in this type of a wave function, it is spread over a large region, but at one point it goes to infinitely large values. This is not normalizable. Then consider a wave function of this type, or related to it another type of wave function. Now in these two wave functions, some constant time sec x or a constant time tan x. Sec x is 1 by cos x, tan x is sin x by cos x. So cos x comes in the denominator. So at points at which cos x becomes 0, these wave functions will become infinitely large. So these points are x equal to 3 pi by 2, 5 pi by 2, cos pi by 2 is also, so pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, 5 pi by 2, 7 pi by 2, etc. Odd multiples of pi by 2. So at these points, cos function is 0, so these wave functions will become infinitely large. So they are also not normalizable. And another example, consider this type of a wave function. It has finite value at different points, but as x goes to plus or minus infinity, psi of x, you can see that it goes to infinity. One condition for normalizable wave function is that it should be finite everywhere, and the second condition is that as x goes to plus or minus infinity, psi of x should go to 0. But here this wave function blows up or diverges as x goes to plus or minus infinity. So this is also not normalizable. So these are some counter examples for normalizable wave functions. In other words, these are non-normalizable wave functions.